Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dawson County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today is Thursday, June the 3rd, 2021. Appreciate everyone that's in attendance. It's a good crowd here. And thanks for those who are also with us online. We'll start out with a roll call. And we're all here. We'll go on to our opening presentation, and it's good to have everyone here in reference to this because this is a great day. Our opening presentation is a proclamation recognizing the retirement of Deputy Sheriff Mike Johnston. Sheriff Johnston, come up here and be with me. I'm going to read a proclamation from the board, and then I'm going to turn it over to the sheriff for a presentation. Dawson County Board of Commissioners, in recognition of Mike Johnston for his years of service to the citizens of Dawson County and the state of Georgia. Whereas Mike Johnston has served more than 40 years as a certified peace officer in the state of Georgia. Whereas Mike Johnston began his career in 1980 when he graduated the North Georgia Police Academy and began working for the city of Jasper Police Department. And whereas Mike Johnston then served the citizens of Pickens County, the city of Jasper, and the city of Canton. And whereas in 2005, Mike Johnston began working for the Dawson County Sheriff's Office as a patrol deputy. Whereas while serving as a patrol deputy, Mike Johnston made hundreds of arrests and responded to an unknown number of motor vehicle crashes, domestic disputes, fights, and other emergencies. Whereas each time he was called upon, Mike Johnston responded without hesitation and was always prepared to step in harm's way to protect the citizens of the communities he served. And whereas Mike Johnston sacrificed and spent many holidays, birthdays, and other celebrations away from his family. And whereas after a brief retirement, Mike Johnston returned to the Dawson County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff working in the Sheriff's Services component. And whereas for the past 5 years, Mike Johnston has welcomed the citizens of Dawson County as they entered the Government Center Courthouse with a friendly but firm smile. And whereas Mike Johnston has served unselfishly and has represented the law enforcement profession with integrity and has proven to be a shining example of what a deputy sheriff shall represent. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dawson County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes Mike Johnston for his legacy of service in law enforcement to the citizens of Dawson County and the surrounding communities, proclaimed this 3rd day of June, 2021.
Mike, come on up, please. You know, 41 years is an accomplishment, especially in law enforcement. You think about the climate that's going on today. Mike, it's an amazing feat, one that you're obviously to be very, very proud of. You know, in fact, about Mike's been around a day or so, again, 40 plus years. You won't find it on his post profile, but Mike actually began working for the GEPD. For those that don't know what that is, that's the Garden of Eden Police Department. Mike told me today, he said, if he knew this, he could play hooky today. So Mike is a very quiet man. Mike is a very humble man. Mike is a man, I won't tell you his age, but I wouldn't want to tangle with him today. Obviously, he's been a blessing to our community. He's been a blessing to law enforcement. Mike, you know we love you as a brother, and we wish you the best in your retirement. But you always know Mike's done this before, so he has an open invitation to come back when he's ready. Mike, appreciate you. Wish you the absolute best. So step right over here and let folks see your shadow box. So at this time, we'd like to ask the board members to come down only for this first picture. And we want to get a picture with Mike.
We're going to actually take 3 photos, and I'll go ahead and preface these. We're going to do one with the board and the sheriff and Mike, and then everyone else here, family and other law enforcement that came to be here with Mike today in a big group photo is going to come up next. And then Johnny and Mike and whoever else he wants to put in that third photo. So Mike, you don't get out that easy. You gotta get a lot of pictures.
He's enjoying this, aren't you?
Right now, all you people in law enforcement from not only Dawson, but everywhere else. you can't come, I know.
Thank you so much. How are you?
Y'all gotta get closer. Maybe y'all go up top. Maybe y'all go around and go on top. So you just see this. Let some of them go on top.
Hey, guys, some of you around.
Yeah, ask Papa where he wants to. I think that he's yeah, stay right there like big. Why are you running? One, two.
Don't move. Hold your breath. One more, Johnny, get up there, whoever. You want.
Come on.
Thank y'all.
That's it. Here you go. Yes.
Has it been covered up?
Yeah, coach him into coming back. Oh, you can't. Maybe you should put him on the part-time list. Make him a part-time. Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks, Mike, for a great job. Thank you, buddy. Raise her back up there. All right. Once again, a special thank you to Mike Johnston for all those years of service in public safety. So at this time, we'll resume our meeting. Would ask everyone to please take a seat that's going to stay with us. We can. Yeah, I forgot. Okay. So at this time, I'll ask y'all to, it's obviously going to work, so I don't think anybody's against it. We'll take a vote on the proclamation. Do I have a motion?
So much. Oh, go ahead.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. I think after 4 years, there's no discussion. I think it's a done deal. So if you would, please vote. I got overly excited. Found somebody else that did 40 years like me and Tim. So I'm excited. So this time I'll ask everybody, please stand for a brief invocation and pledge. If you would, bow your heads, please. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another day and for the many blessings of life. We ask that you give us knowledge and wisdom to carry out the business of this great community. Anything that's accomplished, we'll give you the honor and glory. In Christ's name, we do ask and pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Are there any announcements? Any announcements? Okay, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. First up, we have the minutes of the work session held on May 20th, 2021. Any additions or deletions? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And those are approved 4-0. Next up, we have the minutes of the voting session held on May 20th, 2021. Any additions or deletions? Motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And those are approved 4-0. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda. We do have some changes to the agenda. Under addition of letter B, under number 4, under new business, Georgia Mountains Regional Commission reappointment, Ms. Betsy McGriff, term July 2021 through June 2022. Additions of number 7, 8, 9, and 10 under new business. Number 7 be an intergovernmental agreement between Dawson County Sheriff and the city of Dawsonville concerning 2 city-funded sheriff deputy positions. Number 8, healthcare technology engagement tools and reviews of telehealth options. Number 9, acceptance of FY 2022 Council of Accountability Court Judges Criminal Justice Coordinating Council Enhancement Grant for Dawson County Treatment Court. And number 10, acceptance of FY 2022 Council of Accountability Court Judges Criminal Justice Coordinating Council Enhancement Grant for Dawson County Family Treatment Court. I'll entertain a motion with those changes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And the agenda is approved with those read out changes. No one signed up for public comment in
No,
this
sir.
segment, so we'll move on to public hearings. First up, we have ambulance billing ordinance and policy change. This is the first of one hearing that was presented a couple of weeks ago by Chief Thompson. And basically that language change is we're removing the billing component or the dollar amount of that or the fee schedule of that and turning that into a resolution, and that will be coming out of the ordinance and becoming a resolution. Any other information needed before I open up the hearing? Okay. At this time, I will open up the hearing of the ambulance billing ordinance and policy change. Anyone here to speak on the ambulance billing ordinance and policy change? Anyone? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and before we get, I'll take that motion, but let me ask the council something here. We need two motions here, one to, on reference to the change to the ordinance, and then one for the resolution. Jointly, all right,
Related.
so your motion is for the ordinance
Then
change
vote.
and the resolution, all right?
Yes, sir.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion.
Did the part about the employees, what did we decide on that? They got in there, right?
That's in there, yes.
Yeah, I thought it did.
Yeah,
So they won't be charged.
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have possible extension of existing moratorium on the acceptance of applications to rezone property to residential suburban 2, RS2, residential suburban 3, RS3, residential multifamily RMF, commercial planned community development, CPCD, and mixed use village MUV zoning classifications. This is the first of one hearing. Does council want to expound on that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. So before you tonight is the consideration of whether you wish to extend this moratorium that was first placed on February 18th, 2021 for purpose of completing a land use study. The board initially adopted a temporary 90-day moratorium on acceptance of applications for the rezoning of residential categories, which included RS2, RS3, RMF, CPCD, and MUV land use districts. On May 6th, the board adopted a resolution to extend it briefly for another 30 days in order to get us to this public hearing for consideration of the status of the study and consideration of whether we would extend the moratorium for an additional period in light of the fact that the study has not been presented to the county as completed as of yet. Jameson is here. I believe the study is to be completed in the next week and a half or so. You may want to elaborate on that. And I know that's what the county's been waiting on to get that study so that then we could consider adoption of appropriate rules and regulations that would address these growing issues that the county's experiencing.
Yes, from my understanding, it was originally supposed to be, I believe, mid next week that it was supposed to come back. Since I sent that email out today, I believe Dr. Meek with Georgia Tech has extended that and said it might be closer to the end of the month. So that should weigh in the decision on the extension of this moratorium.
And I assume once we get that data back, we're still gonna need a little bit of time to digest, what it speaks to and how it affects us in service delivery costs.
That's true. And if there's a decision to modify the zoning ordinance or any other ordinances based upon the study, then obviously we have the typical advertisement requirement, and that always takes a little bit of time.
So we're looking possibly several months.
Surely not several months.
Well, I think what we should
Time you
do
advertise
is,
it, time you get the study back, time you rewrite the ordinances, time all that's gone through.
I think a couple of 3 months is probably
Yeah.
reasonable in terms of how long it would take. I think it's probably appropriate to tell Mr. Meeks, we just really have to get this back by the end of the month. Because I think it's been worked on for some time and we just need to move forward. I know it's been a while in the making and we want it to be, of course, a great study and have it thoroughly reviewed. But I think it would be appropriate this time to let him know there's a bit of a time sensitivity increasingly. And I can do that if you want me to help you with that. I've worked with him before. So I think we need to push that it's the end of June, it's got to be done. So if we got it by the end of June, then, to your point, Commissioner, we would need to determine what next. So you may need to get it to your next work session, say if it's on the first July work session for you to determine what you may want to address in the study in terms of new regulations. Then there's going to be a drafting period and then advertisement. And typically I think it would go to the planning commission first.
Absolutely.
And we can, of course, fast track that as quickly as possible. But I think that process is going to get us probably towards the end of August at best. Would you agree with that, Jameson?
I mean, I had a question. I mean, we wanted to address the multifamily and the residential subdivisions and things like that, but then, when we did this, the Development Authority just come before us about 30 minutes before we decided to do this, with some potential developments coming as far as commercial or mixed use. And some of this is grant sensitive. They've applied, and some of it might be involved with the Development Authority getting some property too with this category. And I know we were addressing, like I said, the multifamily apartments and the residential, but we've got 2 zoning classifications in there that are commercial and mixed use that they have clients and potential people coming to possibly for those types of zonings. And if we're pushing this off to August or later, they might not get those grants, or they might be walking away. That's just my thought on it. Because I mean, even the attorney, when we first spoke, I forgot who did the presentation, didn't realize those 2 zoning classifications were in there. They thought it was nothing but residential. So I just,
What's
Yeah.
in mixed use village
Commercial and
what does that
A
encompass?
combination of residential
And commercial.
Both of those. yeah.
CPCD and mixed use both have.
But it's
both.
got resident, so say it's got a residential.
but
It's got a residential component at 2.5 units an acre for the entire site, but it's required of at least 500 acres to rezone to mixed use.
Yeah, those are
Oh,
probably
okay.
much bigger projects. to
Oh,
begin with.
500.
but it was what we're trying to draw in the industrial and quality of jobs and things like that. And we're closing the door to them again. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, I think to somewhat reverberate that is the study is going to tell us what the service delivery cost is for residential, because we know that that is a cost for us, for every house that gets built, what's it cost us? The commercial does generate revenue source as well as additional jobs and things like that. So,
But commercial and industrials is bringing us in taxes in.
right.
So basically, we're shutting
Yeah,
the door.
that's a
to it.
positive for the commercial side.
Well, why
And
did
I know
we
they
include
work-
it in the first place?
And I know that
If
the
it's-
Development Authority's worked hard and
It's not residential.
and trying to get these players in,
Yeah.
and these players are gonna walk away.
Your question, Ms. Fawcett, is included because it has a residential portion.
Right, and
The
very
commu-
often,
what Commercial plan community. Oh, okay.
CPCD and so does Mixed Use Village, both have.
So it's a
residential.
residential component.
So I guess we could proceed with everyone but CPCD and mixed use village. We could allow those to go ahead and. go
you
back
certainly
in
could.
and
Yeah, I mean,
continue.
going forward, you could modify it however you see fit. I think Commissioner Fawcett, probably why it was included is because those tend to be your higher density zoning categories when they're mixed with commercial, but there
Oh,
is the
okay.
offset commercial that impacts the tax
That's
digest,
Mhm.
in a positive manner. And there's been times when you've had those kind of projects where you've required the commercial to be built first for
Yes.
that purpose. Those could be dropped off. I think that's a reasonable thing to the extent they already have a commercial component directly supporting those
Mhm.
residential uses. But I think that's likely was the purpose, is that very often that's your higher density apartment complexes and types of things like that, that would be, on the backside of a commercial development type thing.
Mhm, mhm.
If I may add to that, I believe that, CPCD and mixed use village were included because CPCD is 6 units an acre, which is required of 15 acres.
Okay.
And mixed use village, like I said, it's 500 acres, 2.5 units an acre. So that's roughly 1,500 rooftops. So that was a significant value enough to add it into this moratorium to begin with.
Yeah.
And I guess
Okay.
there would be nothing to stop us from. We're gonna have we're not gonna have any of these that are gonna come up in the next 30 days per se. And then once it does come up, it's gotta go through planning, and then these would be big projects, we could still table them until we get additional data and information. There's nothing to stop us from.
And
That's correct. Well, and another consideration is we, have approached this in a kind of, stop them at the doors type thing on acceptance of applications. Now that we see sort of an end in sight and we know that the study is coming hopefully soon and we can see the end of the project in vision, we could start accepting applications, but know that they can't proceed forward until a certain period of time. The only problem with that is when you're accepting applications, to the extent there's anything positive to occur in terms of staff review, if they don't have the regulations, they really can't review them. So I'm going to kind of think that's not a good idea.
And I
Probably.
haven't sat down with anyone for any type of mixed use village project or a CPCD project as of yet that are ready to submit. So I think that
Which one did you say had to have 500 acres?
mixed use village, the MUV.
Okay.
Have we got any idea what kind of thickness this study is going to be, how much is involved? Have y'all ever, I've never seen one.
Yeah.
Do we know
we
how-
had a sample of one that we looked at.
Did
which
we?
was- I mean, it was about, 15 pages, something like that.
I just wondered how long it'd take to digest it.
Well, it's gonna be a tool that we'll have in our toolbox in order to help, as we approach some of these subdivisions that get presented to us.
Any other information before I open the hearing? At this time, I'll open the hearing to the possible extension of the existing moratorium on the acceptance of applications to rezone property to RS2, RS3, RMF, CPCD, and mixed-use village MUV. Anyone here to speak at this public hearing? Anyone here? Come on up, give us your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Beth Martin. I live at 586 Brights Way. And I just hope this moratorium can continue because if we don't get the information you need, and then you start making decisions halfway here and halfway there, and it's just gonna end up a big mess. Once you guys get the information and understand where we can go and do the best for the residents and citizens, then there'll be a plan to go in the right direction, rather than some people get this and then we change over to this, which I have seen a lot of that over the past year or two. So I just hope we can kind of finish it off and figure out where we need to go to get the citizens the jobs, but also help control all the apartments and mixed use village that are coming in and knocking everything down and taking over. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else here to speak on the possible extension of the existing moratorium on the acceptance of applications? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. Pleasure of the board.
Can I ask a question? I
You
should
may.
have asked one, how can we split this up? If it's commercial plan, community development, parts residential and parts commercial and the mixed use village. I just don't understand, Tim, to your point, I understand what you're saying, but how can you split that up? Because it's all one package. It's all residential, all commercial. So I don't see how we can split that. And then, and even to Ms. Martin's point, seem like we're gonna have, I don't know, just seem like to me it's gonna cause problems. If we don't keep them all together like we've done, but that's just my opinion. And I understand where Tim's coming from and, if people have grants or deadlines and all that, but I don't know if we start turning loose on two classifications, is something gonna apply to them and then not gonna apply to the other when we get our study done? So it's kind of confusing, not kind of confusing, it's confusing to me now.
I guess, what are we looking for the outcome of the study? Or is it to charge more for permits or have a charge more for services? I mean, I know we need
To
a study, to
offset
see
the
what it's
cost.
cost us. But
Yeah.
what are we looking for? What's the goal? If we get this thing back and it says it costs X number of dollars per resident, are we looking at going up on the taxes for those residents? Or are we looking at going up on the impact fees or
I think it
permit
helps
fees?
guide
or-
us towards the type of product that helps mitigate the overall cost. So, if you've got a family of five living in a $200,000 house, or a family of five living in a $500,000 house, 500,000 would offset the service cost for that same family living in a smaller house. So I think some of that data will be available. Also, one of the components of the study is that's going to be beneficial to the Development Authority. Is there anything that, on the flip side of that, from a commercial standpoint, is there any incentives that will bring in a company that generates long-term revenue for the community? So
What's the incentive? Where's the incentives coming from? We don't have,
well, this,
we don't have the infrastructure. There's water, sewer, things like that to give them incentive. I mean, unless we give them a tax break.
right,
Which,
it doesn't set incentives. It just talks about what the benefits could be, pros and cons. It looks at both sides. What does it cost for us to bring in a light industrial 60,000 square foot plant that generates 50 jobs, and can you streamline the zoning process? I mean, there's a lot of different, it's just, again, like I said a minute ago, it's not the one thing solves all. This is not gonna be this is what we go by 100%. It's a tool in our toolbox to help us make a different, maybe not different, but better decisions as we move forward. I think when you talk about what's the middle of the road, to both points is, I think leaving the ones that are the residential only on there, because we continue to get that information back and it slows that process down. But allowing those that are maybe in a grant process, I don't know where they're at on those projects, but we could release those. And it doesn't, Jameson, you don't have any that's on your desk or knocking on the door. Those, to me, take long time to develop because they're gonna have a lot of input. They're gonna have a lot of feedback from us, and doesn't mean that we don't have to approve them. I mean, they can come to us. We can table it until we get all the facts and data, which is what we should do anyways.
Well, just Commissioner Gaines, the only thing I would add there is that if we lift the moratorium as to any and they come forward, then the current rules would have to apply. We could not apply anything that we may impose new. So they would get the benefit of the existing rules today.
Okay.
That's the only downside is if we intend to impact any aspect of the regulations, that anybody that comes on through,
Gotcha.
unless the moratorium is adjusted somewhat, like I said, we'll accept the applications, but you can't go forward further than that. But again, I think I saw Jameson's face when I said that, getting the applications, if you don't have the set of rules to
I
review
know
it,
it.
is not
I think
useful.
we'll
There's-
stick with this.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid that, I want to see the commercial come in, but when we're looking at the commercial plan communities and the multi-use,
Mhm.
if that study comes back, it may help us, give us some leverage to knock down the density in
That's
those.
right.
And that's the only thing that I wouldn't want. I don't want to hinder the commercial at all, but if it says that X amount of industrial helps offset X amount of
Mhm. That's right.
residential,
Mhm.
then that's what we need to change our regulations to,
That's right.
is my thoughts on it.
I just think we're gonna have to have this study.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I think all of them need, to be under the same umbrella. To your point, we don't need part under one regulation and part under another. I mean, I think that's just ridiculous and more confusing and more governmental, so.
David?
Just as a discussion, I emailed Mr. Meeks today, and the items that he's talking about that he needs to complete the study It's just about complete. But it has to do with the judicial side of things, which don't really fall into the service delivery for residential, commercial. We're talking. So that and some information from the transfer station is all we need. And that information should be available within a day or two, at least by the beginning of next week. And I think he's shooting for, first, you might be able to help me, was it the 24th?
I think the issue is Dr. Meek was going to be on vacation.
Yeah.
And so there was a vacation wind up that was interfering with
Oh, okay.
So
getting it done.
the hope is that this is within the next couple of weeks, is going to be complete for him to just wrap it up.
Doesn't sound like we have anything imminent at this point anyway. So I mean, we could extend it 30 days and reevaluate, I would assume.
Would that be your recommendation, Angie, for the
Well,
number of days? I know there's.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we extended it to just 30 days, we know that we will not have completed it. And we're at the point, we spoke about this when we first did the moratorium without a public hearing, that, once you've exceeded a certain period of time, then we would need to continue having a public hearing so that we get public input, because essentially this is ultimately can be concluded to be a zoning decision once we have continued it for more than a real temporary period of time. So
Yeah.
since we've come out from February good time, then we would need to advertise. So if we say 30 days, then that means we really would need to advertise within 15 to get it back for public hearing. So, that's up to y'all.
And if I may interject there, 30 days puts us right at the July 4th mark. And I'm not actually sure if we have a board meeting that week,
First,
Your meeting's July 1st.
July 1st. So if we're looking at that route, it might be better to go 45 days. That way I have time to advertise and we have time to get that data and process as much as we can before that way we have time to advertise and move forward with a public hearing if we choose to extend it further.
other discussion? Motions?
I make a motion that we extend the existing moratorium on the acceptance of applications to rezone property to the residential suburban 2, RS2, residential suburban 3, RS3, residential multifamily, RMF, commercial plan, community development, CPTD, mixed use village, MUV, zoning classifications. You said 45 days is what you needed for 45 days.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines, seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand.
And that is approved 3-1. Okay,
If I could, Mr. Chairman, so just to clarify, given the tight time frame, I think we know we probably would not be ready for a conclusion of this within 45 days, right? So should Jameson plan to go ahead and be prepared to re-advertise for a public hearing on that July 1st, for that July 1st meeting? And at that time, we'll have the study information and would know more what we're looking at, but because otherwise the deadlines for advertising are going to come before he turns around. I just wanted to clarify what your expectation is in 45 days.
And my only thought of doing, instead of doing like 60 days, is the fact that we may revisit Tim's point of if anything were to come about that is really makes sense from a commercial development standpoint within any of those other two zonings, then we might at that time reevaluate whether we want to keep those moving forward or not. So yeah, I would give you authorization to, have the ability to extend it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to have to be extended for those other.
we'll have to have another public hearing.
And the difference between the 30 days and the 45 days would allow me an additional time to get before the board for the second hearing in July. So instead of the first hearing on the 1st.
Okay. Okay. All right, move on into new business. First up, consideration of FY 2022 Legacy Link contract for nutrition program services. Dawn presented that to you. This is a annual thing that provides food services for our seniors. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of request for funding of fire hydrants. Chief Thompson presented that a couple of weeks ago. This goes in line with when Etowah's redoing their lines. We've been putting hydrants on those. I think this was 7 hydrants that's being proposed. And it was on 3 different roads, if I remember correctly, off Price Road and then a couple other roads in that area. And this would be funded through fund balance. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion approved.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration to move forward with a public hearing for a comprehensive plan update. Jameson presented that to us a couple of weeks ago. This motion would be to have a public hearing on that. As you know, we've added a couple of residential zoning classifications as well as commercial. And this update will help us with that as well. So is there a motion
Motion to approve,
for a public
to
hearing?
move forward with the public hearing.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0 for a public hearing. Do we have a time on that or date?
June 17th.
June 17th. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Moving on to number 4, consideration of board appointments. Mandy Power replacing Christy Moore, term June 2021 through December 2022. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Ryan Trapnell, reappointment, term June 2021 through December 2024, and this is a Joint Development Authority reappointment. Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Under letter B, Georgia Mountain Regional Commission reappointment, Miss Betsy McGriff, term July 2021 through June 2022. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved. Move on down to number 5, consideration of intergovernmental agreement for shared parking at county facilities in Dawsonville. Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Number 6, consideration of special purpose local option sales tax intergovernmental agreement. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. That's approved 4-0. Number 7, intergovernmental agreement between Dawson County, the sheriff, and the city of Dawsonville concerning 2 city-funded sheriff deputy positions. Sheriff presented that earlier today. Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion approved.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. and that's approved 4-0. Number 8, healthcare technology engagement tools and review of telehealth options. Brad and presented that earlier today. Any other information needed? Motion.
We'll make a motion that we proceed with the right way option and allow staff to engage Cigna to negotiate down the $750 per month file feed. So it's approved up to $750, but I think that when you present it the right way, they will agree to reduce that.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Number 9, acceptance of FY 2022 Council of Accountability Court Judges Criminal Justice Coordinating Council Enhancement Grant for Dawson County Treatment Court. That was presented to you earlier today. Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Last thing on the agenda for this evening, acceptance of the FY 2022 Council of Accountability Court Judges Criminal Justice Coordinating Council Enhancement Grant for Dawson County Family Treatment Court. That was presented earlier today. Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. No one signed up for public comment in this segment.
No, sir.
With that, that concludes the business for this voting session. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance, both in person and online. Thank you.